Hello, everyone. I wanted to see what it would be like to whisper in my I, I mean, I wouldn't say that this is my usual tone because I'm speaking a little bit deeper, I guess. But when I whisper normally, I tend to go up like this, so this is also not. I don't know. It's as close to a normal voice tone as you would expect. But anyway, I digress because today I want to do something a little bit different. I know this is lo-fi. I know that this is not necessarily the quality that I want it to be, but I think it almost kind of helps, at least for this sort of style. I do apologize every once in a while. I'll be stopping to get a nice, good, long breath. And I'm doing it away from the microphone because the iPhone standard default microphone is very sensitive and not the highest of quality. I'm going to be doing what I've coined. I don't even know if other people have referred to it as such, but I thought it'd be kind of clever to do SleepyPasta, which is where I would read out a creepypasta. And in this case, I figured it's almost only appropriate that I start with my favorite creepypasta. And I feel like, I don't really need to say the name. It'll probably be in the title. I should just get right into it. So this post is set back in 2010, September 7th. And for some context, this is referencing 4chan, as I believe. The original post was posted to that message board. Okay, X, I need your help with this. This is not copied pasta. This is a long read, but I feel like my safety or well-being could very well depend on this. This is video game related, specifically Majora's Mask. And this is the creepiest shit that has ever happened to me in my entire life. Having said that, I recently moved into my dorm, starting as a sophomore in college, and a friend of mine gave me his old Nintendo 64 to play. I was stoked, to say the least. I could finally play all of those old games of my youth that I hadn't touched in at least a decade. His Nintendo 64 came with one yellow controller and a rather shoddy copy of Super Smash Bros. And while beggars can't be choosers, needless to say, it didn't take long until I became bored of beating up level 9 CPUs. That weekend, I decided to drive around a few neighborhoods about 20 minutes or so off campus, hitting up local garage sales, hoping to score on some good deals from ignorant parents. I ended up picking up a copy of Pokemon Stadium, GoldenEye, F-Zero, and 2 other controllers for $2. Satisfied, I began to drive around the neighborhood when one last house caught my attention. I still have no idea why it did. There were no cars there, and only one table was set up with random junk on it, but something sort of drew me there. I usually trust my gut on these things, so I got out of the car, and I was greeted by an old man. His outward appearance was, for a lack of a better word, displeasing. It was odd. If you asked me to tell you why I thought he was displeasing, I couldn't really pinpoint anything. There was just something about him that put me on edge. I can't explain it. All I can tell you is that if I wasn't in the middle of the afternoon and there weren't other people within shouting distance, I would not have even thought of approaching this man. He flashed a crooked smile at me and asked what I was looking for, and immediately I noticed he must have been blind in one of his eyes. His right eye had that glazed over look about it. I forced myself to look to his left eye instead, trying not to offend him, and asked him if he had any old video games. I was already wondering how I could politely excuse myself from the situation when he would tell me he had no idea what a video game was, but to my surprise, he had a few in an old box. He assured me he'd be back in a jiffy, and he turned back to head into the garage. As I watched him hobble away, I couldn't help but to notice what he was selling on his table. Littered across the table were rather peculiar things. Peculiar. Apparently I struggle with that word. Various artworks that look like ink blots that a psychiatrist might show you. Curious, I looked through them. It was obvious why no one was visiting this guy's garage sale. They weren't exactly aesthetically pleasing. As I came to the last one, for some reason, it looked almost like Majora's Mask. The same heart-shaped body with little spikes protruding outward. Initially, I just thought, since I was secretly hoping to find that game in these garage, some Freudian bullshit was projecting itself into ink blots. I'm gonna sound like such a fucking douche. Is that what he even meant? Is Freud the one that... Because like a Freudian slip is when you say something in place... Anyway, never mind. But given the events that happened afterward, I'm not so sure now. I should have asked the man about it. I wish I would have asked the man about it. After staring at the Majora-shaped blot, I looked up and the old man was suddenly there again, arm's length in front of me, smiling. I'll admit I jumped out of reflex and I laughed nervously as he handed me a Nintendo 64 cartridge. It was the standard gray color, except that someone had written Majora on it in black permanent marker. I got butterflies in my stomach as I realized what a coincidence this was, and I asked how much he wanted for it. The old man smiled at me and told me that I could have it for free, that it used to belong to a kid who was about my age that didn't live here anymore. There was something weird about how the man phrased that, but I didn't really pay any attention to it then. I was too caught up in not only finding this game, but getting it for free. I reminded myself to be a bit skeptical, since this looked like a pretty shady cartridge and there's no guarantee it would work. But then the optimist inside me interjected that maybe it was some kind of beta version or pirated version of the game, and that was all I needed to be back on Cloud 9. I thanked the man, and the man smiled at me and wished me well, saying, "Goodbye then." At least that's what I thought he said. All the way in the car ride home, I had a nagging doubt that the man had said something else. My fears were confirmed when I booted up the game. To my surprise, it worked just fine. And there was one save file, simply named Ben. "Goodbye, Ben." He was saying, "Goodbye, Ben." I felt bad for the man, obviously a grandparent and obviously going senile. I, for some reason or another, reminded himself of his grandson, Ben. I think this will end off part 1 here, because I don't want this video to be too long. There is quite a bit of reading to be done in this, so regardless of whether or not, I don't know, this is, I want to finish this off, so I'm going to read all of it, but obviously I do care if this is received positively, but, you know, if it's not something that turns out to be liked, I won't continue reading creepypastas, but I will at least finish this one. Okay, thank you so much for listening. I will see/speak to you next time. Sleep well. Good night. Goodbye, Ben.